Have you ever wondered what life was like when we lived in tribes long before the advent of modern technology and society? Picture a world untouched by the trappings of civilization, where survival was the order of the day and the human spirit was inextricably tied to the rhythm of the earth. In this untamed landscape, our ancestors thrived, their lives shaped by the primal forces of nature. They were hunters and gatherers, the original foragers who roamed the earth in search of sustenance. Every day was a quest for survival, a delicate dance between predator and prey, between the hunter and the hunted. Men, with their raw physical strength and agility, took on the role of the hunter. They tracked wild animals, studied their habits, and struck when the time was right, providing meat for their tribes. Hunting was not merely an act of acquiring food, it was a rite of passage, a demonstration of bravery and skill. Women, on the other hand, were the gatherers, the custodians of the tribe's plant-based diet. They were the ones who knew which berries were sweet, which roots were safe to eat, and which plants held healing properties. Their knowledge of the land and its bounty was just as vital to the tribe's survival as the men's hunting prowess. This division of labor, based on physical strength and abilities, had a profound impact on the social dynamics of the tribe. It created a sense of interdependence, where each member had a role to play, and each role was critical to the tribe's survival. The primitive era was not a time of simplicity or ignorance, but a time of profound understanding and respect for the natural world. Our ancestors were intimately connected to their environment, relying on their instincts and the resources around them. They knew the language of the earth, the whispers of the wind, the secrets hidden in the tracks of animals. The primitive era was a time of survival, where our ancestors relied heavily on their instincts and the resources around them. It was a time of raw, visceral living, where every day was a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. As time passed, our ancestors discovered a remarkable way to sustain their tribes: farming. This seemingly simple practice, planting seeds and nurturing them to grow, revolutionized life as they knew it. It was more than just a shift in how they obtained food, it was the advent of a new era. Before the advent of farming, tribes were nomadic, constantly on the move in search of food. But with the discovery of farming, a seed of change was planted. Our ancestors found they could stay in one place, grow their own food, and have a reliable source of sustenance. This was the birth of permanent settlements, the first step towards the civilization we know today. With this newfound stability, tribes could focus less on survival and more on development. Art, culture, and spirituality began to flourish. Tools became more sophisticated, homes more durable. The dynamics of the tribe began to change. No longer was everyone a hunter or gatherer. Roles became more specialized. Some became dedicated farmers, others artisans, and some leaders. This shift also brought about a change in the roles of men and women in society. As tribes settled down, the division of labor began to evolve. Men, who were primarily hunters, began to farm and protect the settlement. Women, traditionally gatherers, also took up farming, but their roles expanded beyond that. They became the primary caregivers of children, and their knowledge of plants and herbs often made them the healers of the tribe. The home became their domain, and they were integral to the tribe's survival. But this transition was not without its challenges. Farming was a complex process requiring knowledge of seasons, understanding of different crops, and the patience to wait for the harvest. There were times of plenty and times of scarcity. But through it all, our ancestors persevered, paving the way for the civilizations that would follow. The discovery of farming was a game-changer, marking the beginning of civilization and a shift in societal roles. This was a pivotal moment in our history, a spark that ignited the flame of progress and set us on the path we walk today. Amidst survival and sustenance, our ancestors did not forget the spiritual world. Their beliefs and spirituality were woven into the very fabric of their existence, profoundly shaping their perception of the world around them. The spiritual beliefs of our ancestors were largely centered around nature and the elements. They perceived a spiritual essence in everything, from the towering trees to the flowing rivers, from the blazing sun to the silent moon. They believed that these natural elements were animated by spirits, which could either bring blessings or inflict harm. Rituals and practices were integral to their spiritual lives. They conducted ceremonies to appease these spirits, offering sacrifices and performing dances. They sought guidance through divination and interpreted dreams to understand the will of the spirits. These rituals were not merely religious obligations, but ways to connect with the spiritual world, to seek protection, prosperity, and healing. The influence of these beliefs and practices extended far beyond the spiritual realm, permeating their everyday lives and decision-making. For instance, they would consult the spirits before embarking on a hunting expedition or before sowing seeds. They believed that the success of their endeavors depended on the favor of the spirits. However, it's important to remember that our ancestors were not always right in their beliefs. They often attributed natural phenomena and life events to spiritual causes, overlooking the actual physical or biological reasons. But their beliefs gave them a sense of control over their environment, a way to understand and navigate the uncertainties of life. Moreover, their spirituality fostered a deep sense of community and interconnectedness. They believed that all beings, human and non-human, were part of a greater spiritual whole. This view encouraged respect for nature and all forms of life, promoting harmony within the community and with the environment. Our ancestors had a deep-rooted connection with the spiritual world, which influenced their beliefs, practices, and daily lives. Their spirituality was not an isolated aspect of their existence, but rather a lens through which they viewed and experienced the world. In tribal life, community dynamics and spirituality were intricately linked. The spiritual beliefs of our ancestors were more than just a philosophical pursuit. They were the glue that held their communities together, governing their interactions, traditions, and even their understanding of the world. One of the most significant roles in these communities was that of the shaman or spiritual leader. These individuals were respected and revered, often seen as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms. They were the healers, the seers, the storytellers, and the wisdom keepers. Through rituals, ceremonies, and teachings, they fostered a collective sense of identity and purpose, reinforcing the bonds within the tribe. However, this deep reliance on spirituality was not without its flaws. Our ancestors' understanding of the world was limited by their knowledge and experiences. This often led to misconceptions and mistakes. For instance, they might attribute natural phenomena like thunderstorms or eclipses to the wrath of the gods, leading to unnecessary fear and superstition. Similarly, illnesses were often seen as spiritual afflictions rather than physical conditions, which could lead to ineffective or even harmful treatments. Yet despite these shortcomings, there was a profound wisdom in their way of life. They understood the interconnectedness of all things, recognizing that every action has consequences, that all life is sacred. This wisdom was reflected in their community dynamics, in their respect for nature, and in their rituals and traditions. It created a sense of unity, a shared responsibility for the well-being of the tribe and the world around them. In many ways, we can learn from this holistic approach to community and spirituality. In a world that often feels fragmented and disconnected, there is a longing for a deeper sense of community, for a spirituality that acknowledges our interconnectedness and responsibility to each other and the world we share. Spirituality was not just a belief system for our ancestors. It was a way of life that shaped their communities and interactions. It was a testament to their understanding of the world, their place in it, and the delicate balance that sustains life. Despite their missteps, they recognized the spiritual thread that binds us all, a thread that continues to weave its way through the tapestry of our shared human experience. In the tribal era, the roles of men and women were distinct yet complementary. They were defined not by superiority or inferiority, but by the survival needs of the community. Men, typically stronger and faster, assumed roles that required physical strength and agility. They were hunters, warriors, and protectors of the tribe. Their responsibilities were primarily external, venturing out into the wild, facing danger head-on, and ensuring the safety and sustenance of their people. Women, on the other hand, played roles that were equally crucial, albeit different. They were gatherers, caregivers, and nurturers. They bore and raised children, foraged for plant-based food, and maintained the social fabric of the tribe. Their roles were more internal, focusing on the preservation and growth of the community from within. These roles were not arbitrary. They were dictated by physical abilities and survival instincts. In a world where survival was not guaranteed, every member of the tribe had a role to play, and everyone's contribution was vital. Men and women worked together, their efforts complementary to ensure the survival and prosperity of their tribe. But what does this mean for us today? These roles from our tribal past have greatly influenced the way we perceive gender roles in the present. The notion of men as protectors and providers, and women as caregivers and nurturers, still permeates our society. These perceptions, however, are not set in stone. As we evolve as a society, so do our views on gender roles. We are beginning to understand that these roles are not defined by gender but by individual strengths, abilities, and preferences. In essence, the roles of men and women in the tribal era were not about dominance or submission, but about cooperation and survival. They were about understanding the strengths and limitations of each individual and assigning roles accordingly. This understanding of cooperation and mutual respect is something that we can still learn from our tribal ancestors. The roles of men and women in tribal society laid the foundation for the gender roles we see in society today. From hunters and gatherers to farmers, from survival instincts to spiritual beliefs, our ancestors' tribal life was a fascinating journey. Their simple yet complex existence was marked by a deep connection with nature and a profound understanding of community dynamics. Starting off as hunters and gatherers, they adapted to become farmers, embracing a settled way of life that laid the foundation for civilizations. Their spiritual beliefs and practices were rich and diverse, reflecting an inherent curiosity and awe for the natural world. Community dynamics were nuanced, with roles and responsibilities shared and respected. The tribal community was a cohesive unit that thrived on cooperation and mutual support. Men and women had distinct roles, but their contributions were equally important, shaping the tribe's survival and growth. In their misconceptions and naivety, they were no different from us, seeking answers and striving for a better life. Our ancestors' tribal life was a testament to human resilience, adaptability, and the eternal quest for understanding the world around us.